All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 2, season 2 of the Table Talk podcast. We are officially live. I'm going to go from right to left, introduce everybody. Looking forward to this show today. Excited about this show today. Definitely one that we need to discuss and that we have to discuss about the community. So excited about it. Like I mentioned, from right to left, we got little sis Sada Thab. It's our first live show, by the way. It's our first live show. So I'm excited to do this live. And, we're going to have Zach right here making sure, the coffee is being given to our guests who I'm about to introduce as well. But again, Sada Thab is in the building. She's here.
Hello.
Yeah, there you go. You got myself, obviously, Omar T. Next to me, you got Big Sis Abid in the building. And our guest today is a face that you should be familiar with. It's Maali Luqman. She is now, I like to remember her as a community activist, right? But she is now also the assistant city manager for the city of Hamtramck. So congratulations, Yusuf. I don't know if you want to give her the round of applause. There you go. Appreciate it, Yusuf. All right, Ailee, welcome back. Nice to have you back. We appreciate you for coming back here.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely. And, we're going to have a great show today. Again, today's topic is about women empowerment. We're going to get into a lot of detail about it. It's not just, talking about we're going to get to talk about specific things, actually. But before I do that, while we are here, while you are watching, I do want to say be sure to subscribe to our pages, Oz Media 313's YouTube page. And then, of course, you can follow us on Facebook, Motivate Me 313, Instagram, Motivate Me 313. We are also on Apple and Spotify podcast. The show will be posted right after the show is done. And if you want to call in, because this is one of those topics where I feel like people are going to want to call in. So if you want to call in, the number is 313-306-1750. We made sure that we changed and adjusted our, phone settings and stuff. So the conversation will be clear, inshallah. So again, the number is 313-306-1750. Call in. I have the phone in my hand, ready to go, ready to answer. So once we get, deep into the conversation, feel free to chime in. We would love to hear your thoughts. We would love to hear what you have to say about this, man or woman. I know this is a women empowerment show, but a lot of the conversation is going to be talking about how, men can, address certain situations. So at the end of the day, if you feel like what's being said needs to be discussed, feel free to call in. With that said, yes.
Just a little thing I noticed. We're all kind of color coordinating today. We have the blacks and whites and greens going on.
I noticed your hijab matched my outfit.
And then he's doing the green and the all black. So
MSU did have a big win on Saturday. So I think that's the memo that we kind of had. I sent an email out to everybody and said, try to find. Go, wait, what are you doing with the black? Just black.
Her phone is green.
Oh,
there you go.
There you go. All right.
Thank you.
Shout out to the sponsors, okay? We got to give a shout out to the sponsors. BC Adhesives, The Balkan House. He's saying speak up. BC Adhesives, The Balkan House Restaurant. We got Hanley International Academy and Qahwa House. Maali's enjoying herself some Qahwa House coffee right now in a Qahwa House cup. So shout out to the Qahwa House. But today we are actually going to jump into... we are going to talk about the Qahwa House. So let's actually get going with the Qahwa House, Yusuf. So if you want to go ahead and hit that sponsor button, I believe Qahwa House, I think you got the letters.
The Qahwa House.
Thank you.
The Qahwa House is the first coffee shop of its kind. The Qahwa House is a family business established in 2017 for the sole purpose of providing the best quality Yemeni coffee with no added preservatives, artificial additives, or flavors. You can stop by Qahwa House to try their famous Yemeni latte, Adani Shahi, Mafawad, and Jubani coffees. You can also stop by to try their delicious pastries, such as the Yemeni favorite Sabaya, their sembusas, and their new menu item, Everything Mini Bites. There are currently 4 Qahwa House locations, with 2 of them coming soon as well, to make it a total of 6. Their 4 locations is West Dearborn, East Dearborn, Williamsburg, New York, Lombard, Illinois, with 2 new locations coming in Canton, Michigan, and Petersburg, New Jersey. So no matter where you're at in the country, be sure to stop by a Qahwa House and get a glimpse of what the Yemeni culture is all about.
I'm getting used to this staying quiet stuff, but it does allow me to prepare the questions. It allows us, if we have to hurry up and say something, we could definitely throw a quick comment to each other about something. So definitely getting used to that. But with that said, nice?
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, I wish the screen would popped up something. So
Yeah, that's
maybe
next
a little
level.
commercial.
That is next level.
Okay.
That's next level.
that
It's
was
possible.
really nice.
It's possible. Believe it or not, it's possible. But we
Caught
gonna
me
have
off
to.
guard. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you
so-
sounded very professional.
Yeah. People were saying I sound like those people that do food things because like the voice and those.
Yeah.
Tony was saying that. Maali, what's going on, Maali? Great, big news. You're the new assistant city manager in the city of Hamtramck. I know you were kind of talking about it before the show. That is awesome. Congratulations again for that. That is a job that is very, people definitely look up to that person, that position, and it's a position that is needed. I mean, I'm happy that you're doing it. I think the city of Hamtramck should definitely be grateful for that. So congratulations. Can you tell us a little bit about how that job has been? I know it's only been maybe less than a month.
Yeah, it's been less than a month. Thank you, first of all. So I'm still getting settled in, but I'm really excited because I have a lot of background in like DEI work, community leadership. So I'm in a position where I can put that skill set to use. I'm working for a community that's like obviously very diverse. Our people, people of different backgrounds, right? So I get to have fun with that, right? There's a lot of development opportunities in Hamtramck. So I'm looking forward to trying to bring about impactful change, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And so far, so good.
So far, so good. I guess my question is maybe how did this happen? Like, who was your main connection, and what motivated you to go into Hamtramck as well?
So I was looking for a position where I could put my skill set to use, right? I have my fellowship from the Kellogg's Foundation in Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. I have a background in education. I have my master's in international relations. I did so much community leadership work, both in Dearborn and a little bit in Hamtramck too. So as I was looking for new opportunities, I finished my fellowship, and then I had another one with the Legacy Cities. And that one is, Legacy Cities focuses on industrialized cities in the country. So like Dearborn, cities like Hamtramck, cities in like Akron, Ohio. So all across the country. And it was a good fit because I just finished that fellowship and the fellowship before. So I had all this training about how to lead and make impactful change for, communities that are very diverse, and not just diverse, but they are, industrialized cities. So they're like near the factory type of setting. So this was a perfect fit. I was in the market for a new position, and I was looking around, and this came out to be perfect. I first looked at the HR position because that was available, and I was like, okay, HR. It's not really. I want to be more in the in the thick of things, and HR is kind of like you're dealing just with like the paperwork of human resources and things like that. So when I reached out, I applied for that position. I found out they were looking for a deputy city manager, and I applied for that instead. So I applied, I got called in for an interview, and then alhamdulillah, the rest is history.
Nice. Alhamdulillah. And you're working with Max, correct? That's somebody that you're working with?
Yeah, Max Gaber.
You see, I only said his first name.
I know it. He's my boss. I better get it right.
Yeah.
It's Garbarino.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
He's not watching this.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I'm definitely going to share it on the Hamtramck pages, by the way. We just had breaking news, by the way. I just want to let you guys know. A guy from the Hamtramck Public TV reached out, and he said they want to pick up all of our videos, and they're going to be posting it, and like we're going to be on Comcast TV, Channel 19. So he actually called, reached out. I was literally on the phone with him right before you guys all came in here, and so it's going to be he probably might end up soon.
Sorry, Matt.
Yeah. So,
Garbarino. There, I got it right.
Yeah. So good guy, by the way. He helped me out one of the shows. I needed some like actual factual information, and I reached out to him. He got back to me quick and helped out a lot with the show that we had. It was very important because one of those things where you needed the facts to a certain situation, and he gave me the facts. So appreciate Max. I bet you're looking at me like you had something to say. You got something to say right here?
I held on to it, and then I held on to it as much as I could, but you kept going, and it just went away.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask, what does your job entail? What is
So right now I'm doing a lot of shadowing of different people, I guess you can say. So I'm like learning from the team that's already been there. Okay. They did have somewhat of a turnover recently where a good amount of people that had been there for a while left, for different reasons. I guess they got different offers and whatnot. So there's a lot of fresh blood there right now. So I feel good because although I've only been there for under a month, I feel like I've been there longer than a couple other people. So I feel like I'm not the newest. So that's good and bad because it's like good, fresh blood. We can be creative and have a blank slate and starting like with a new vision for what to bring to Hamtramck. But it's not so good because sometimes you have questions and the people that were in those positions before aren't there to necessarily answer them. But there's so far so good. Alhamdulillah, it's been a great team, a lot of supportive people. A lot of it so far has been just like working on resolutions that go on like the agenda items for city council. I've been reaching out to different contacts that I have that work in the field of like economic development, things of that sort, see if we can get funding for Hamtramck City to try to get some facade improvements, whether it's on the building or in the neighborhoods or in the streets. So if we can get more funding, we can do some really cool stuff for the residents. So there's some of that. There's like just networking with different, like organizations that might be able to give us insight on what the resident needs are. So, I mean, for the first month, it's been pretty busy, alhamdulillah.
I think it's nice that there's the leaders are reflecting the community.
Yeah.
Like there's people in the higher
Positions.
that know the community and know the people and know, their traditions and cultures and what they would need.
And it's also important to see people in these positions that look like them as well, so they feel more comfortable and they feel more safe.
Yeah, and like to Abir's point, cultural competence, right? So
Huge.
understanding the culture and then being able to relate to it, that's important when you're serving any community, because you know their needs better than someone that doesn't really identify or hasn't been well exposed to the culture. So I think that's definitely an asset to have, aside from the fact that I do have the leadership training, the community work training, the qualifications. So alhamdulillah, I feel like it was a really good fit for me and a really good fit for Hamtramck.
For sure.
For sure. I think I agree with that. Here we go. So we got comments. First of all, Cal Trey, Choop, best show on Monday/Tuesday afternoon. So he picks it up. Sometimes we Monday, sometimes we Tuesday, all right? Shout out to Cal Trey. Malik Hussein said all day, so I guess he seconds that. And then Ella Miller said, are all you guys siblings or only Abid and Umar? We are all three siblings. Sara, myself, Abid. Maali is a sister as well, in Islam, so I guess we can consider her family. And then we got Hotmail said, Maali is a great example for the community. And then this guy's comment is biggest fan of Oz Media, but he erased his comment. So at least his byline is biggest fan of Oz Media. So shout out to that guy, whoever that is, or woman. All right, biggest fan of Oz Media. Who is it?
I think you caught it just in time.
It's deleted. No, it's his name. Like his name is biggest fan of Oz Media.
Oh.
Yeah, his username, I guess, is biggest fan of Oz Media. Yeah. So shout out to biggest fan of Oz Media. He don't even have to make a comment. Just leave that right there. All right.
Yes.
All right. So let's dig deep into the conversation. I don't know if you guys have any more questions about that. Anything? All right. Let's get it rolling. So today, again, we're here to talk about women empowerment, but also we're gonna talk about misogynistic men in our community. Talking about why that can affect now and the future generations, and kind of addressing topics. Like that's our goal, right? For this show is to address topics that we feel like people are not talking about. Maali, I appreciate you for reaching out, because I do think this is a topic that we definitely should have and discuss, and I'm glad we're able to talk about it. So my question is, what is the biggest setback you feel women face today, when it comes to empowering women or women empowerment? I can start off with you, Maali. Like, what do you feel like is the biggest setback?
I think it's the stuff that we don't even realize is there, the conditioning of what we expect women to be and not be. And this is not exclusive to like Muslims or Yemenis or Arab. This is like a world thing. So sometimes people are surprised to see a woman put in a leadership position, or like a woman running for public office or taking on a certain role that usually women haven't taken on. And when you see, like, it could be even passive aggressive responses to things, let alone just the outright overt, misogyny. You realize that women are, if it's not direct, they're subconsciously like internalizing this. So they just kind of internalize that certain roles are not meant for me, even if they're very qualified and even if they would do a very good job at it. And I think all of that conditioning and just the cultural expectations, and again, this is not exclusive to Arab or Yemenis or Muslims, this is just worldwide. The cultural and social expectations of like women and what they should and shouldn't do, or can and can't do, and their capabilities is probably the biggest obstacle. And it's not just an obstacle for women. Women are half of society. So if you're holding women back, guess who's getting held back, as well? Men. So we're all getting held back because there are some, social or cultural norms that we've all internalized that they're just doing a disservice.
I mean, what are your thoughts on the topic? Or the question, I mean.
Honestly, I feel like with society as a whole, like even for instance, I know I'm going back, but when you mentioned how men are afraid to see women in power or in leadership, when Hillary was going against Trump, people didn't even want to hear what she had to say. They voted for Trump only because he was going against a woman, you know. So it's sad to say that, you know, obviously it's something that exists, but it's definitely something that has been built on for the past years and from the beginning of time, where, like you said, the gender roles and how men and even women, you know, believe that women are supposed to be only for a certain thing and not the other. I feel like it comes from intimidation. A lot of men don't have skills and traits that women do have, and when they see a woman have it, it's like, whoa, know your place, because they can't get to that place, you know?
And, you know, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
And also, too, because I think we're fragile and we have too much emotions about certain things and stuff like that, which that's why we're not capable of handling leadership roles, which men and women, there should be no discrimination between gender. What a man could do, a woman could do, and vice versa.
So I wanted to just pick up on something you said, and I think it was because you kind of corrected after. You said men think, but it's not just men, right? And then you corrected that, right? It's women too. So I don't think it's a men versus women thing. It's not a us versus them. It's a all of us versus like misconceptions that are holding us all back, right? So it's funny, like I kind of low-key get offended when people ask me if I'm a feminist, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, are you a feminist just because like I'm vocal about things? I'm like, no, I don't identify as a feminist, right? No. I identify by my faith, right? Like, and I believe that my faith gives me more rights that are appropriate for my strengths and weaknesses based on the way I was created, that feminism or no other, you know, man-made ideology can compete with. So I'm proud to say that, you know, alhamdulillah, I'm proud of my, you know, my Muslim identity and the, you know, the definition of a woman, or the, I don't know if definition is the word I'm looking for, but kind of the role that gives me. And it's actually a lot more broad of a role than most people think. It's not that limited. You know, I'm like, my strengths and weaknesses based on my biological creation are specifically, you know, defined by my faith and addressed. And then everything is kind of like free reign. Like, you know, you can, the sky's the limit outside of that. I don't know if that's making sense, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I guess my point is, it's like, I'm not a feminist. I don't believe in the us versus them, because I think feminism started to counter misogyny. Yeah. And it's like you have this tug of war with like misogynists against feminists, and they're, I personally think they're two extremes, right? Yeah. And I think the healthy balance is that, you know, we acknowledge what we can and can't do, and we be okay with that, rather than scripted out roles that do a disservice.
Yeah, like, why not be proud of each other? Why not help each other become the best versions that we can become, you know?
Right.
Why not see potential in someone, regardless of who they are, and
what they are.
You know, push them to reach, you know, the highest potential that they can. Because at the end of the day, like you said, you're ruining a whole society.
Right.
It's not just, you know, a specific gender.
That was probably one, like, my favorite perspective about this type of discussion. I kind of like the way you thought about it, and especially how you said about it being kind of like, it's not them versus us, it's we're all one at the end of the day. So
Yeah, and I just want to say right quick, make sure, like, we spiking in the mic right now. Somebody said, biggest fan of Azmina, said, love the show, and I can hardly hear Abid, so make sure Abid, you know, this thing right here, Abid, it adjusts the stick right here, this one right here, the skinny
it's
circle.
As far
You
as I told you last time, like, it's so far.
yeah, you can put the mic towards you if you want. Make sure you speak right in, like right now, how I'm speaking into the mic right here.
Right, but I wanted, like, the stick is at the end. It's because of the legs of this.
There you go, like that.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me turn this.
There you go. All right. So while she's doing that, I am loving the conversation so far and what everybody is saying.
Okay,
So
wow, nice.
Yeah.
Better.
And then I think if you turn it a little,
turn it more towards you. There it goes.
wow.
Right there.
Say hi.
All right.
That works. Is this better?
Say hi.
And then also,
Hello.
you guys could also, like, maybe just speak up to yourselves. But I do love where this conversation is going. And by the way, is it misogynistic or is it misogynistic?
misogynistic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, women can be misogynistic too.
Okay.
Misogyny just means the spite or hate of women.
Okay.
Or like dislike.
Okay. So my next question is, I guess, there was an incident that happened, right? And I don't want to just harp on just one incident, but the incident that kind of happened, which kind of like, had people upset in a certain situation where, there was a guy who, kind of went out his way and was a little extra in a certain situation and, kind of, made a woman look kind of bad in a situation. And I mean, I don't know if you do want to tell a specific story or if you want, because I don't want to say it and then it's not really a thing where.
I mean, I'll talk about, so I received a video after the last campaign election cycle, and I'll talk about my personal feelings towards it. And then at the same time, just kind of generally. So it was a video that several people had forwarded and sent, and it was of a man berating a woman. So she was recording, so she's behind the screen. And he was yelling and just kind of going off on her. And it was about the election, the candidate doesn't wear hijab. At that time, I didn't know who the candidate he was referring to was. I just see this man who was screaming at another woman, at a woman, and yelling and just being belligerent. And then this man was Yemeni. And then there was a white man that was there volunteering who stood up to tell him that he needs to calm down and relax and that he was being abusive in his behavior. So he wasn't being physically abusive, but verbally. So prior to the video recording, excuse me, sorry, my voice gets so raspy. So prior to the video recording, I guess when he was going in, from what I was told, he was kind of acting out really aggressively and tearing the flyers and things of that sort. And then
unnecessary.
And on the way out of going into the voting polls, so he was going to vote for a candidate. On the way out, he was still kind of going on and just screaming about oh, no hijab, no vote, about the candidate. And then that's when they finally started recording, because they're like, this guy's way out of control. He's been out of control going in. He's been out of control coming out. So they started recording it. When I saw it, I was very triggered by the fact that there was a grown man yelling at a woman who's just passing out flyers and getting in her face. And then I was even more bothered because I was like, okay, his demeanor changed significantly when this white man who's older stood up to him. So I'm thinking, okay, obviously he respects male presence more than female. He obviously respects, maybe I was reading too much into it, but he has more respect for someone from outside of his ethnicity, or maybe he was intimidated. I don't know. But someone from his own ethnic blood, he feels he has the audacity to disrespect on such a level. He has that level of comfort thinking that he can talk to this woman who's strange to him in that demeanor. And so to me, I'm like, is it because she's a female? Is it because she's Yemeni? Is it because she's hijabi? Because, as hijabi, sometimes people think they can, that you're a doormat, right?
Yeah.
Even though he's addressing the fact that the candidate's not hijab. It's just, there's so many contradictions to that whole scenario, when you look at the video. And then he's, screaming and hollering about why they shouldn't vote for her because she doesn't wear a hijab, right? But hijab is supposed to be a symbol of honor of women, but you're dishonoring women. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I'm like, everything about you is a contradiction. Yeah. You're disrespecting a hijabi woman who's literally volunteering her time. And I didn't know who it was when I saw the video. I later came to find out who he was referring to, the candidate. As most of you know, I know the candidate very well. And then I came to learn about who was behind the screen, and I actually know her too. She's a single mom. She's a pharmacist, very respected young, a woman in the community. And all of it just upset me because I'm like, we talk so much about respecting women and then women in hijab and the discrimination we already face, and you expect that the men from within our community will be the first to stand up for you if you were in a situation where you were being attacked. And here you have that person being the one carrying out that kind of behavior over nothing. And then someone, not that there's anything wrong with someone from an outsider intervening, I'm very grateful that man stood up to him.
He did what was right.
He did exactly what anyone with common sense should do, and integrity. But it's just kind of sad because it's as a community, and I guess this is an inter-community or intra-community conversation we need to have. We talk so much about we don't like when our women are harassed by people from the outside, when they sit there and they make fun of our hijab or they make fun of our whatever. They go off on us. We would get upset. why does this person think that it's acceptable, right? And then, you know, as we continued to like ask questions about that video, I found out more information that like, I guess he'd been already like harassing the candidate for some time before. And it all started with him finding out that she was Yemeni and she was a muhajjaba. So before he knew she was Yemeni, he was like supportive of, hey, I want to find out, like, I want to be part of the movement. And then I don't know, I guess he found out her ethnic identity and then had messaged her questioning, like, why aren't you wearing hijab type of thing? And she just kind of ignored that conversation. Eventually, I think blocked it. But it was like a little bit of harassment about no hijab, no vote. Okay, yeah, vote for who you want. No one's forcing you. But you don't need to, just because someone's putting themselves out there to serve, it doesn't give you the right to disrespect or harass. You know?
Yeah.
You know what's sad? I used to work at a doctor's office in Hamtramck. I'm not going to say which one. But a lot of the Yemeni men feel very entitled and feel like they can talk to you any type of way. And when it's another person at the office, they show them respect. They can be patient. They can. So it's like, I don't know what it is.
And
when
that
they
is
feel
that,
like they can actually disrespect and belittle another person of you know.
But there's two things, like, before we get too carried off,
Yeah.
two things I want to, like, comment on with that. So one thing is, I know, trust me, I know, right? Because I grew up in the same community. I know what you're talking about. But I always like to remind myself we shouldn't let the traumatic experiences blind us from the good. Because I can swear that there are, like, that many more great Yemeni men who are some of the greatest men I've come across. So supportive, so humble, so, like, incredible, right? So,
100%.
but to your point, every community, like, studies have shown, like, marginalized communities, they tend to have crabs in a bucket mentality. They tend to have internalized racism. It's a concept of, like, when you tend to discriminate against people within your own group because you've internalized some of the outside discrimination of the superiority. So that specific video, like, I saw all of that stuff because I studied this stuff, right? So for me, it was like, this is a prime example. Maybe that's why I was so triggered, because I'm like, this is so blatant that it's misogyny and there's a little bit of racism tied in there, right? Because for example, if the candidate was not Yemeni, he would not be reacting that way. I can guarantee it, because
wouldn't care if she were
He'd
here.
mind her own business.
yeah, there were so many other candidates. Initially, when I saw it, I was like, is he referring to Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib? Like, nobody ever comments on, like. And then I was told that no, he was referring to the other candidate, who many of you know I know. But wallahi, that wasn't what upset me. I was just like, what, like, the insanity, right? And then his demeanor just changed when this person from the outside of his community stood up to him. And he was willing to hear him out and engage in dialogue, respectful dialogue with him. Yet he turns back to the woman, who's a Yemeni woman, who he's supposed to be a protector of, and he's getting in her face. And to me, I'm like, wow, there's so much, you know, brother, yahi, you've internalized so much toxic messaging about the way to respect women, the way to respect people, minorities, and it's manifesting in your behavior, and you don't even know that you're possessed by that thinking. You know, and when you have someone from the outside calling you out and is disturbed, like, you know, that's kind of embarrassing for all of us.
Embarrassing.
that's exactly what I was. And by the way, the next question was like, why do you feel like misogynistic men still exist in our community? So I know we're kind of already talking about that. So, and you were saying like you don't know exactly why, but you know that's exactly what I got. And it's not. This is just one incident. I don't want to just harp on that one incident, right? But you know, people don't realize that it's embarrassing. You know, that video was embarrassing. You know. And by the way, we tried to reach out to the guy and just to see if he would like to come on the show and kind of explain himself and kind of get into that. But it is what it is. We didn't get a chance. My sources, I thought I had good sources, but my sources are still in work. But long story short, you know, when I seen that video, it's embarrassing. You know, I have 2 daughters. You know, I have sisters. I have a wife. I have a mom. I grew up with very strong women. You know, very empowering women that have strong voices that are, you know, independent. They could do things on their own. And so this is why, like, it kind of inspires me to, you know, have these conversations and have people come on to have these conversations and just looking towards the future. You know, I'm a teacher. I see students. I see these girls who kind of already are dealing with it, even in middle school and elementary school. Maybe it's from their own parents, you know, the thinking, the talking that it's already in their head, what their view in life. So, I think it's important to have these conversations. But when that happens, it's 2022, and you kind of know it probably still goes on, but to see it and in the public like that, and it's just embarrassing. As a guy, I feel very embarrassed talking to other guys. They said it's very embarrassing. That's their first thoughts is the other Yemeni guys saying that it's very embarrassing. And that this is something that should not be happening, and it's great that you guys are having this conversation. So
I want to talk about the embarrassment part just briefly, because I know some people were having an issue with the fact that I reposted the video, and a couple people, most people were like, this is ridiculous, but a couple people reached out, private fake accounts, it was probably the same person twice, saying things like, oh, you're an embarrassment for sharing it. I'm like, okay, there's a difference between like concealing faults and like addressing an issue and call in instead of call out, if you're familiar with that term. And there's a difference when something is out, like it's outright, it's out there, and we just like turn a blind eye because we're too embarrassed to address it. And my thing is, okay, with someone that has that kind of demeanor where he has no shame to lash out like that on so many people and to harass someone from his community who stepped up to lead with text messages and stuff like that. So there was more to that story than people were aware of. Obviously, they filed police reports and stuff, and I think it's been, squashed or whatever. But, people like that, sometimes they do respond to a little bit of shame, and I'm not saying we should, blast people. I'm not a fan of cancel culture and blasting and shaming and exposing people, exposing sins or whatever. But when it's something that's out in the public, and you're causing harm on someone else. Like for me, if someone came and attacked me like that in public, I don't know how I would react, to be honest with you. That's pretty scary. And I question if it was a man on the other end, a grown man on the other end of that abuse, would he have had the audacity to do that? Absolutely not. Because a grown man would not react the way, a woman who's a little less physically powered to do. So he knows there's a physical threat.
And just to say this too, if it was the other way around, where if it was a woman lashing out on a man, she'd be crazy and qalat al-adab and all of that good stuff. So that's crazy.
Right.
So why do you feel like this still exists in our community? This kind of behavior. And by the way, not to harp again on one person on this one incident. That's why I wanted to reach out to him. I was hoping maybe we can see what his thinking was. Maybe it was a bad day. I don't know, but. Again, but why do you feel like this is happening or still happens in our community?
Because in roles of a man, there's more of, they have kind of the role of control. And that's been for years, whether in any culture whatsoever, but especially in our culture, they kind of have the control where they feel like they could do and say whatever they want because they're a guy. Because there's no, their reputation or whatever doesn't matter, because they'll wake up the next day and they're still a man.
He's a man.
Yeah, he's a man. What a gal. But a woman, if it was the other way around, like I said, she's bala adab. She doesn't, her parents didn't raise her right. Like there's all these things that we have.
Affect her, affect her family.
Exactly. And I'm sure it would have been probably reposted way more, because it's fine to shame a woman compared to a man. Because again, a man's a man. So.
What are your thoughts, Abir?
Like I said before, I feel like it's something that's been in society for so long. I was kind of finding some research. I don't know if this is going to be off topic or not, but I was looking up a little bit about misogynists and all that good stuff, and the label incel came to mind. And it was involuntary celibate person. Means that it's not by choice, it's because they keep getting denied. So when men, I feel like, don't get what they want because they think that they can get whatever they want, do whatever they want, in that sense or whatever, they become, so when they get the decline or whatever for anything, they get very annoyed and hurt and bitter and become to, hate women or against women being in lead or whatever, because they feel like, that they're entitled to it. So a lot of men feel like they're entitled to becoming in a certain position or whatever. So what I'm saying is basically for years now, you have men that it's embedded in their brain and their families or whatever, where the man leads, the woman is quiet for years, and then the mothers continue that with their sons, like, oh, you're supposed to lead, and don't let your wife, control you, or which is fine. We all want a leader, obviously. We all want our men to lead and to become, for sure. But at the same time, don't downplay what a woman can do, and don't, I don't know.
No, I like where you're going.
Yeah.
I like where you're going, and I want to say another part about the video. I know we're trying to move on from the video, right? But there's one part that probably bothered me. Well, I don't want to say the most because the whole video was probably disturbing, but it was like, it looked like it was maybe his son or his brother or somebody there, and
they see it.
And like they see it.
Yeah.
They see it. So like you're just tearing generations of thinking. It might just be your family, but still, it's like. And then the son looked like he came to his father's defense, or whoever he was, that person that was, like, he came to his defense, and like he's defending that behavior, and then like, it's like, dude, like,
I think he felt compelled to, because he looked like a young person, and if it was his father.
Believe it or not, though, those young people, they think like that too. They think like it. Believe it or not, like the middle schoolers kind of already, they kind of think like that. High schoolers, I know he looked like maybe a high school, yeah.
Tell me, why are you working?
First graders might even say that to her. They're young.
You drive?
Yeah.
Like, come on, stop.
And it goes back to also like the value of a Yemeni woman.
Yeah.
Why are there people, and I'm not saying there are lots of them, but why should there exist any people that thinks that the value of a Yemeni woman is any less than any other? Because if that woman passing out flyers was blonde hair, blue eyed, Karen, I highly, highly doubt, very highly doubt that he would have had the audacity to treat her in the way he did.
And you mentioned Karen. I just want to say, former mayor Karen Majewski did chime in. Shout out to Karen Majewski, Hamtramck mayor. Very interesting discussion. If you guys are tuned in, feel free to share this. We are just kind of almost getting started with this, so we're still gonna dig deep into it. Feel free to share this. This is a discussion I feel like that needed to be shared or talked about in the community. Hopefully we learned something out of this. Hopefully we grow from this. We are not here to bash anybody. We are not here to make relationships worse. We are just trying to talk about something and grow from it, and hopefully this doesn't ever happen again. But, just want to say that. And then I'm just going to read off some comment. Sada, speak louder, because you are just talking. Make sure you're loud. Make sure you're loud. It's still happening because men lack education on this type of stuff. The way they are raised plays a huge role. Yes, not being educated, by the way, it's Emel, my wife, Emel. Not being educated is a big problem. I think that's in any situation, right? Not having any kind of background or knowledge on the topic, you kind of run into issues. And then, yes, I need to speak louder, please. That's what the people are just saying that. A97 Dope Boy said, my wife beats me. I'm not going to stop, Nash. This is not a joke, seriously, man. But you should talk with her and get, okay, yeah. There you go. Sorry to hear that. Said biggest fan of Oz Media with what we were talking about. So, yeah, definitely something that needs to be discussed in our community. And what were you about to say?
I have a question for you guys. So when I was, looking up stuff, one article actually said that they believe that misogyny or misogynistic behavior is actually a mental health behavior. That it might be something that when they put down a woman, some people get a dose of dopamine, which makes them feel better about themselves.
I mean, any kind of abuse, you could say the same thing, right?
Yeah.
No healthy-minded person is comfortable with abusing any other living creature, right?
100%.
So misogyny is a form, I think, of abuse, depending on how much you let it manifest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can get to a point, you guys, where people are dying because of the situation. I don't know if you guys heard the story about the female that hurt when she got divorced. The husband or the ex-husband came back and killed her. So it's it gets to the point where the hatred towards women or towards women that want to better their lives or do something better that's not what they're okay with it can kill someone.
And again, I want to reiterate that is not exclusive to Arab, because
what? This is not even an Arabic person I'm talking about. Yeah.
But I'm saying because stereotype, mainstream Western media, sad to say, when it comes to the negatives, they tend to magnify those that are related to when they occur within
within that
minorities
community.
of color.
Yeah.
But that also includes occurs, and this is cross-racial ethnic boundaries, cross-religious boundaries, where you have the the violent ex-husband go nuts and go after the wife for finally divorcing, because misogyny is also about control, right? So it's like if you feel like a threat to your power as a male, and I think you kind of referred to that, you're going to act in aggressive ways and lashing out. I just think it's extra like alarming, the fact that we have people within our local community that think you can do that with women who are not even part of, like, you don't, this is a stranger on the street.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. I think that's another level of boldness. I'm not saying it's justified when it's domestic abuse, but the fact that you can, like, that's not even your jurisdiction,
Yeah.
right? Like, she's not your wife, she's not your mother, she's not your sister.
Yep.
Right? And if you really, really have a problem with seeing something and you think it's bad, dude, like, approach it in an appropriate way.
Yeah.
This is someone, you know what I mean? Like, you're infringing on the respect and the honor of another man
100%.
or other men. You think this woman doesn't have a father or sons or brothers or whatever? Like, you're also disrespecting them, right? Not
Yeah.
just her, but them.
Like, would you really want someone to do that to your daughter?
Right.
You know? You mentioned something really good before we even started the show. People like that make it hard for people to that actually have potential to run, you know,
Right.
because their families are afraid of
Or
these
to do
people
anything
attacking.
public in general.
Yeah, people attacking their daughter. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, if it wasn't for my brother being on the show, I would not feel comfortable, because I know that certain group of people would attack me if I came on. Oh, who does this girl think she is?
Right.
You know, what does she have to say that's so important for her to be, you know,
On
just everywhere? You know what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying.
So it's like, it's to the point where something good like this could have never happened unless I had someone behind me, like, telling me, no, I got you, don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not everyone has that, you know? So why make it hard?
There's a couple good, two things. Sorry, I know you're trying to say something, but, like, one is that you're right. You know, women are not going to want to step up and get involved. And then you have our community, why aren't our women getting involved? Well, they're going to be scared. If not fear of, like, their safety, they don't want the headache. Their families are going to be afraid. No one wants to deal with that. No one wants to be like, oh, your daughter was beraged, or someone's talking about your daughter, or yada, yada. So that's one thing. You're going to have less women representation, especially if you have highly qualified women, or like, just they're as individuals, you know, not men or women. They're just really qualified and fit for positions. They're going to be like, no, I'm a woman. I don't want to get involved in that. It's a man's world, right? Second thing is, like, having the support from supportive men, right? So, like you're saying, like, your brother, you know, mashallah, you guys have a good family dynamic. A lot of women don't have that. But even if it's not, like, blood relatives, right? A lot of the people that helped, you know, like when I ran my campaign, when my sister ran her campaign, a lot of it goes to a lot of brothers in the community that also stepped up and they advocated, and they let, like, listen, we see a lot of skill and talent and integrity. And they were like, we got you, you know, you do your thing as an intelligent woman and you use your skill set. We're not going to let other men come and bash you unnecessarily. And there have been incidents that, you know, were shared with me by other women in similar, you know, capacities, like public leadership, where, you know, like, there was, you know, backlash from some of the men not wanting them to speak at events or things like that. And it was other men that stepped in and were like, this is ridiculous, you know, that honored those women and uplifted them. So, you know, men can uplift women for the greater good for all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was my next question: is how do you feel like you know people can stand up to misogynistic men? But before we even get into that, I just want to say that it is very important. And by the way, like, I'm proud to be a Yemeni man. And like you said earlier, like, about, you know, there are great people out there, you know, that would stand up for certain situations and things like that. And I know a lot of them, and there are a bunch of them, and there are more than probably they are negative nowadays. You know, I remember the video was posted in a group chat, and a lot of them were sharing their thoughts about how, like, this can't be happening. You know, this stuff can't be happening. You know, nowadays, like, you know, it's not. And like you guys both mentioned about how it kind of pushes people to not want to, you know, especially like Yemeni women, right? Not to want to step up in leadership positions or show their face and have public speaking events or speaking in different areas because of the backlash that they might get. I know you're about to say something too.
And it's the same men, or even women, because, right, women could be misogynistic towards men or women. It's the same ones that say they don't want women, like, they interfere or try to bother people that are trying to be, you know, leaders in the community, but they're the same ones that want them to at the same time, because they want their wife or daughters to see a girl doctor, especially one that looks like them and stuff like that. So they want it, but they don't want it for themselves, in a sense. You get
A
it?
little bit of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So how do you stand up to that, Maali?
You mean like I don't want to say double standard, but the hypocrisy. Like, oh yeah, I love that you're leading, but it's like his wife is locked up at home.
Yeah, or just how do you stand up?
That annoys me. That irks me.
I don't
big
judge it
time.
because I'm like, you know what? It just because that's what someone's used to, it doesn't necessarily. Maybe she's comfortable, which is
but-
fine, but
That's what probably makes her then misogynistic as well, because
it depends. Because not everyone that chooses to be introverted is
True.
necessarily
Absolutely,
opposed. But then if you have someone who is judging you, kind of like, oh, okay, like you're out in leadership, you're this, you're that. They're judging you, yet at the same time they want to reap the benefits of your
Absolutely.
hard work and your labor, and that hypocrisy. I mean that exists. It's kind of. It's a repulsive character trait, you know, because it's like you're dehumanizing me. You're treating me like I'm some robot that's just there, like as a slave to serve you, and I don't have value. But then again, what you have at home somehow has more. I mean, I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and front. I get really annoyed of men who like will come up to me and speak to me when their wife is not is covered and doesn't speak to anyone. I feel like, why do you feel comfortable talking to me, but your wife can't talk to nobody? I don't know. Maybe it's a
No, I
internal
get what you're
struggle that
saying.
I'm going through, but
No,
I hate
you're right.
that.
No, because a
You're
lot of
absolutely
women, we talked about that in closed women circles. You know,
Yeah.
like. You know, this guy comes up and he's making, you know, I've heard women say he's making conversation with me, he's asking me to attend a meeting and but his wife is, you know, totally covered. So I'm like, sometimes, yes, it is exactly as you describe it. Like,
Yeah.
that's so hypocritical, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes it really is, it's just like you have different strengths, but they respect. I think the element of respect, is it there? Is it that she, you know, she and her husband respect that you're just more knowledgeable in that you have a better grasp of the language, you know the system better, you know, and they're just kind of asking you to lead and whatever, and they're respecting you for it, as opposed to like, oh, I'm not going to get myself dirty because I'm this pure thing, but you let her, you know, وثق بنفسها, being public type of thing.
Yeah.
That gets under my skin too.
I think it's also growing up in the community that I grew up in. It was in Hamtramck itself, like going to school and stuff like that. Like we didn't talk to this is probably going off topic, but it should be addressed. Like we didn't talk to our own kind. Like the Yemeni girls didn't talk to the Yemeni boys. We'd rather talk to like if we needed help with homework or whatever, classwork or whatever. We were way more comfortable talking to someone that was Bosnian or Albanian or whatever than someone that was Yemeni, because we were like, okay, he's gonna talk about us, he's gonna say something about us, or he's gonna think something extra or whatever. So it just
I don't know, but this conversation is so good. Maali hasn't drunk one sip of her coffee.
I did. I drank half of it.
But
It's
no,
really good
seriously,
coffee.
that is an interesting question. Like, it's true, because I'm gonna be honest with you. Growing up, like, I
You
felt
probably
shy.
felt
Like,
comfortable talking to
yeah.
yeah.
Like, I really like. I mean, maybe because I was like, man, it's like Ailee or something. Like, you shouldn't talk to them. So, like, growing up, that's kind of how it was in my head too. Like,
it was kind of the common sense.
yeah.
But I did feel though, growing up, they had our backs kind of in a way in most
Right.
without actually telling us that they had our backs, but they kind of, I don't know. Long story short, it's a weirdness that's going
So
on.
is it, we want to get to a point where it's health, we have like healthy, or we cultivate healthy like community interactions,
Relations,
right?
yeah.
Because you don't want to be, we don't want to be too loose where we have no boundaries and it's like,
For
okay,
sure.
society falls apart because we just have absolutely no boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
We know that's not good. We also don't want to be so conservative that, you know, just, it like fragments us.
And we lose opportunities.
Which happened because I grew up in the South End, which was very similar to Hamtramck back then. It's it was very conservative, and so there was that sense of heightened shame and haya, haya is good, right? Like we want to preserve modesty, but we also want to be able to function like a healthy community and not have to like have those double standards and be afraid to like, okay, ask for a pencil from like your Yemeni brother, you know? So I don't know. I think it's also just kind of like it's common sense too, right? Like not to read too much into things. And I know having too much extreme conservatism, it kind of destroys the healthy relationships you could build. Like the
Opportunities,
brotherhoods and
doors
community
opening,
growth.
community growth. Like, imagine like we were 10 years ago where we're at kind of now, which is better, right? But it's not where it needs to be, maybe.
Right.
But you know, how far advanced we'd be. Like, you know, you see all these women now who are owning businesses, you know, that, you know, pick a day, stuff like that. Like, you know, I've had people on the show, somebody like yourself. Like, imagine this was happening like 10 years ago. You know, where would we be at like 10 years from now, pretty much, you know? So it's like, I feel like we're holding back. We're holding our community back. That's what it is. Like, we're holding our community back because there's doors that have not been unlocked, you know? You know, situations that have not been untapped because of the fact that we're still afraid to have a conversation, you know, with somebody who's wearing a hijab or something like that because of maybe what we were taught at home or just our culture.
It can like shatter the trust too, because it's like, could be hurtful sometimes. Like, you know, when we were younger, sometimes when you're like, say you started university, you don't know anybody and you're the only hijabi and you see like all of your, you know, Muslim or Arab brothers just like they're avoiding talking to you because they're trained that that's respect. Yeah, they're socializing with all the other females and you just feel so like isolated and you're like, you know, I just want some basic interaction. Like if I need a homework assignment, something, you know. So
let's make it normal.
Yeah, and you kind of feel like, you know, you feel ostracized. You know, what's supposed to be like, oh, preserving of haya and you know, and shame to make it conducive to a healthy social system ends up being counterproductive because we took an extreme. And now all of a sudden it's like ostracizing people and it's limiting opportunities, like he said, and it's just kind of tearing the community apart.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, you know, I guess focusing on the positive, I think there's growth, right? I think we're growing. I think it's getting better. Like I said, it's not where it needs to be.
And we have leaders like her now in cities like Hamtramck that I'm sure she'll be doing the best she can.
To open some doors and to make things easier. So A97 Doughboy said it's very hard for most, not all Yemeni men to accept or just see Yemeni women succeed because they're so stuck on the culture from way back when women were just housewives. All right. And then he said, we think alike. Doughboy said, biggest fan of Oz Media. And then said, unfortunately, as hard as it is to say, but Yemeni people will hate on their own harder than any other group. That's what
I would disagree with the harder than any group. This is common amongst all marginalized communities. The internal crabs in a bucket mentality. It's not a Yemeni term, right? It obviously came from somewhere, and obviously other communities deal with similar issues. And the when he said just housewives, just housewives, I have so much respect for them. It's a lot of work to
it is. House. It is. It definitely is. And did y'all want to touch on this basically of addressing how can we stand up to this, or are we done with that question? Do you want to move on from it, or?
I think what everyone needs to do is focus on your household first. Empower your daughters. Check your cousins, your brothers. Like if you see one of them, you know, being a certain way, and teach your younger generation how to be and how to act.
I'm so happy you said that, because telling somebody something will not help the problem. You have to teach them. Why are you telling them that? I think
and be an example as well.
Be an example, both of them, because I see it as with my students, and I know my students like view me as somebody that would stand up, right? So like and it's so many opportunities where I seen something, I wanted to address it immediately, and you know, addressing it, and obviously carrying yourself as somebody that stands up for it too. And so that's what I see with my middle schoolers. Like I always, you know, get to it, even if it's not even middle school, maybe 4th and 5th graders. Like I'll address it, I'll teach them, and then, you know, hopefully through my actions as well, you know, over time. And I think that's very important to like do what you said. Like when you see something, say something, and it doesn't have to be public, right? You know, it could be one-on-one conversation, and then not only say something, but teach them why what they're saying or what they're doing is not right. And then, you know, not only that, you know, maybe they won't agree with you, but then over time they see what you're doing, and then they're gonna be like, you know what, maybe he is right or she is right. This is what I should do, and I see what they're doing, and I want to follow their lead. So I agree with that. And go ahead, Sada.
No, I was just gonna say, on her saying, you guys were saying being an example, and that was in my head. So
for sure.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Yusuf, can you run the Hanley International Academy ad, because we're halfway through the questions?
When the ads go, do they hear us?
Yeah, as long as we, you know, you can move your, you know, or he can mute us if he wants to. He can mute our mics too. But the Hanley ad, shout out to Hanley International Academy, by the way. Gold sponsor. Hanley International Academy. Hanley is a school that treats every student and staff like their own family. It's even in their vision statement, educating your child like our own. Did you also know that Hanley offers a virtual academy?
So if you're looking for your kid to sign up for an online school, look no further than Hanley's Virtual Academy. But if you're looking for face-to-face, Hanley International Academy is located on 2400 Denton Street, Hamtramck, Michigan. The athletics there are great. The academics there are great. Shout out to the whole staff for being great teachers and educators for our leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. So we're back, right? Shout out to Hanley International Academy. This is all of our gold sponsors: BC Adhesives, Balkan House, Qahwa House, and Hanley International Academy. We appreciate all four of them. Seriously, without them, there's no us. So thank you to all four of those sponsors and those business owners and, you know, everybody that works there too. Shout out to everybody. All right. So how important of a role do women play for other women when it comes to women empowerment? I know we kind of talked about this, but, you know, do you feel like women play an important role? Sada, I'm going to start off with you on this one.
Absolutely. I think us women, we still have, we talk about how men, we have issues with men and being misogynistic and, you know, having a hard time with us leading and all that good stuff, but women could be as tough and rough on each other as well, whether it's your, like, looks or your, you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, and all that. So we like to kind of hate on each other as well, and it's tough already when we already have a society that's tough on us, but having our own kind, our own girl on girl hatred is, I think, worse than honestly having men hate on being misogynistic. So we need to get it together, girls.
I mean,
Imagine if every girl had like a group of 10 girls strong, pushing them to, you know, accomplish their goals, giving each other advice, you know, pushing you to the next limit, knowing that, you know, even, you know, sometimes we doubt ourselves, like we're our biggest critics. But imagine having your friends telling you, do it, we're behind you, we got you, promoting you, or whatever it is. I feel like when women get together, it's magical, you know, if it's done in the right way. Another note, when you were saying like what role do they play, I know a lot of mothers that can't see something different for their daughter, but at the same time I see a lot of mothers that want what's like 10 times for their daughter, like better than what they've had. You know, and that's how it should be. So, and there's mothers out here that you know, can see a situation and will tell their daughter, be patient, this is how it is. Like, they will actually teach your daughter, this is what you should, this is normal, this is what, like, how men are supposed to be, and make the things that are so wrong okay, because that's what they went through, you know? They can't see anything better for their daughter. But then when I was explaining, like, and I see other girls, their mothers behind their back, they're, you know, doctors, they're, you know, nurses, they have a better future because of the you know, they're, whoever it is that's supporting them behind their back. So we play a huge role. Like, we could either help the person become better, or we can make it harder, and the cycle continues.
what are your thoughts on the question, Maali?
Yeah, I mean, when you have people supporting you, there's less resistance, right? And then if you're blessed enough to have someone that has a lot of direction and can give you guidance, that's gold too. Yeah. But not everyone has that, right? So, like, as far as women uplifting other women, hands down, that's the way to go, right? Some people get threatened by that because they're like, oh, if I uplift her, she could be a threat to my power, my growth, my, you know, like, jealousy. So, like, we know, like, you know, women who are more attractive, you know, they say there's something called the pretty tax. Most people never talk about it. They talk about, oh, wow, you know, like the pretty privilege, you know, and I know this also exists in the male world, I think, but not as much. But the pretty tax. So if you ever get into like really like heartfelt conversations with women who are really, really highly attractive, they open up to you about some of the experiences they've gone through. You would be shocked to know some of the things that they had experienced, and maybe it'll explain a lot about like why they're so strong or whatnot, right? So there's a lot of resistance they face just based on the way they appear. They appear because their attractiveness is a threat to other women, right? So there's that. There's also like ageism, right? So you have a lot of women, like in the workplace, in professional settings, that'll be threatened by younger women. And so they tend to give them more difficulty in the workplace rather than serve as mentors or guides. And sometimes vice versa, right? You might have someone who's younger who doesn't respect someone's knowledge and expertise who's older. And yes, it goes back to like women holding each other back. But like, you know, research, anything will tell you when you support other people, that's always the best approach. It's always the best way to go.
This is great answers. I really do hope, people share this and put it over there, put it out there, because I think this is a good conversation that we're having. It's important for every community. I don't think it's just for our Yemeni community. I think it's for everybody out there. I think
Yeah, a lot of the times when you guys see us reference like ourselves, it's just what we kind of know, but
Or
it
what we
happens-
dealt with.
Yeah, but it happens.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to have these kind of conversations and share them. Maybe somebody can learn something or a thing or two from this. So this is we're teachers, so we like to do finish the sentences when it comes down to problem
Is that
solving.
also a teacher?
No, well, Sada is a social worker.
I have a background in teaching too, so.
Oh, okay, there we go. So when women are empowered, so finish the sentence. You got
Starting with me?
no, I can start off with Ibid. I don't think I started off with Ibid yet. All right. When women are empowered,
Anything is possible.
all right. That's Adidas brand. Adidas is not a sponsor, so you gotta agree.
No, seriously, anything is possible. The sky's the limit. I feel like for years, and I've seen so many girls with so much potential not, be able to share with the world or make a difference because of, norms or whatever their family, decisions are. And I'm not to knock anybody's decisions, but there's so much that women know and can do and can change. And honestly, I feel like we're just holding ourselves back and, empowering women. Anything is possible. The sky's the limit.
I did have it written down though.
When women are empowered, go ahead, Sada. Your turn. I love the Ibid answer. Ibid answer is great
Yeah,
too.
very good. I'm gonna kind of touch on that. It's a quick one. When women are empowered, we are producing a new way of life to live where men and women are not looked at their gender, but what they bring on the table.
I love that.
Why did she change her voice though? That's what I want to know. Why did her voice change? We were good. We were good for the whole show.
Oh Lord.
Oh, but you had to for the advertisement. We kind of had to
Yeah,
sound a
and I
little
was
different.
reading something.
Alright.
You know what I mean?
Okay, but no, that was a great
That
answer
makes
as
the
well.
sound even sweeter.
Maali, when women are empowered,
Communities thrive. We all win.
I love that. 100%.
my answer: when women are empowered, the world will be a better place. All right, I honestly
Sweeter place.
sweeter place. Like honestly, I've told every single woman that is them. I've told a lot of them that I feel like it's like a secret weapon. Seriously, empowering women, especially like now me getting to know like a lot of the Yemeni women who are doing things in the community, who are active and who are out there leaders in their own way. They've alhamdulillah for everything, right? I honestly, like, I don't even know if the show would be here if it wasn't for Yemen. Literally, we have Yemeni women on the show as co-hosts. So it's like, I think people don't know like the awesomeness that comes with getting to know women just in general and seeing the things that they bring to the table. And you realize, like, as a guy, like, man, like, they could bring everything that I bring to the table, maybe even more, but most of the times it is more. And honestly, so it's like, I feel like the world would just be a lot better place in terms of just with all the chaos and stuff. But I really do feel like it's like a secret weapon that I feel like me being able to get to know a lot of these women, and it has helped a lot with the show, from getting guests, just thinking about some of the people, I don't even know if they want me to give them a shout out, but like a lot of the guests that we've gotten on the show had to do with women coming on or getting people to come on. And so shout out to all the women, honestly. And I really do feel like the world will be a better place when you empower a woman. And I think it's important. I think it's important because, it's 2022. We should already be there, but I think that we're getting there, inshallah. And I think that, with the right education, like my wife mentioned, I believe that, we'll eventually get to where we need to be. Hopefully, majority of us will get there, right? So with that said, advice time. What advice would you give, someone out there, if there are women who are listening and you want to empower them, you want to let them know, like, hey, this is how you should address every day. This is how you should address every situation. Any advice you'd want to give out there for women, maybe to help them get through whatever situation that they may be having to overcome. I'm going to start off with you, Maali.
Be comfortable in your own skin and confident too, like the imposter syndrome is real, and I see women tend to like manifest it more, right? They have all the skill sets, they have the knowledge, every reason to succeed at the role they're given or whatever it is they're doing. Yeah, not that they sabotage themselves, they've just been conditioned to believe that they're not fit for something. So they shy down or back down or end up giving up, and it's like, just to give yourself a chance, right? Surround yourself by people who will support you, uplift you. And, it doesn't take away from you being a woman. 'Cause I know some women are very protective over maintaining their feminine energy. I had a friend that was talking to me about that the other day, and I thought it was interesting. And then that if they take on too many roles of a certain type, they might lose their femininity, and this particular friend values that. And so I know a lot of women feel the same way. They don't want to carry on more masculine energy, but you can still lead and you can still be intelligent, excuse me, and you can be educated and you can be responsible and fulfill all sorts of roles and still be complete in your feminine womanhood if that's something that you value, right? It doesn't mean that you're compromising it just for having a brain, right? Yeah. So like we need to also kind of get over that notion that if you have a voice, if you're vocal, if you're articulate, it automatically means that you're taking away from your value of being a female, right? So they're not mutually exclusive, right? Just because you have one doesn't mean it discounts the other.
Yeah. Ailee, you wanna give out any final advice?
Don't take no for an answer. Even if your family doesn't see eye to eye with your choices or things that you want to accomplish, they'll come around. But you have to make sure that you know what you're doing, you're passionate about it. Even if it's uncomfortable, like honestly, being on here was very uncomfortable at first, but now I feel like it's something that I look forward to. Starting my own business was very uncomfortable, but here I am. It worked out. Like what I've noticed in my past and my life, the things that are uncomfortable to go into, to start, to talk about are the things that need to be done. So don't take no for an answer. Talk to your families. Be there for your friends. If your friend wants to do anything in life, be their biggest fan. Just want for others what you want for yourself, and everything will be okay.
I love that.
How about you, Sada?
My favorite advice to give anyone, whether it's a girl or a guy or in whatever situation they're in, is do what makes yourself happy. Everyone around you, if they love you and care for you, they will eventually come along and they'll eventually support you. But it is not selfish to put yourself first, especially when you are very in tune and want that thing for yourself. You got to take the risk and you got to just try.
Yeah, my advice is find that person. Find that person that you could talk to, even if it is a guy. It could be your dad. It could be your brother. It could be anybody. Find that person that is going to support you, because that person is more important to me than money. It's more important than a connect. It's like that person could just be your drive throughout life. Like anytime you face something, because there are guys out there who I believe stand up for women and would want to see women in leadership roles, and there are people out there, then there are more than you think. I know you might be attacked, might be in your own house and you feel like you're being attacked, but go out there. Maybe it's a teacher, but talk to them, and that one person could be a life changer, I feel like. And find that person. And I know you got to put yourself in a vulnerable situation in order to find that person, but it's okay, because it's worth it. It's worth it. Hopefully you have that person in your family. Honestly, that's like the best feeling in the world, when somebody in your family supports you. But if it's not, like a teachers to me is a good way of going to somebody. I think teachers, all of them kind of have a similar mindset when it comes to this kind of things and this kind of topics. So find that person that you can talk to, because to me, that person, those conversations that you have is going to be with you for the rest of your life. So finding that person for sure is to me my advice, especially to the women out there.
I want to give advice to parents.
Yes.
Don't hold your kids back. Don't hold your kids back. If you have a daughter or a son, be their best friend. See what they actually like. Get to know your child. Push them to become the best that they can be. Mothers, don't hold your daughters back. Don't want better for them than yourself. It's not only conditioning them to get married. Sit down, get to know your daughter, get to know her skills, her aspirations, all of that good stuff. At the end of the day, you guys can be building a whole nother legacy for your family, regardless if it's a boy or a girl. Invest in them. Put time in it. They're not always trying to do anything just for fun or just for whatever. They really want, to do better for themselves. And I know it's hard sometimes to think that your child might know, more than you or whatever, and you think that you might know best, but it's time to just listen.
I love it. Yeah. Yep.
I was just about to say.
I'm so happy he is on top of it. I was about to text you, but I'm glad you're on top of it. Seriously, can you get one more for this whole conversation today? By the way, I love this conversation. All right. By the way, these guys are great at stopping at the same time. The crowd right now, like they all stopped right at the same time. I think they're amazing right now. They're on top of it. But seriously, I thought this conversation was great. This is the final word time. Ailee, do you want to say final words? Any final comments?
Yeah. Okay. So women empowerment. Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, half the world, half society is women, right? If you're holding back half of the world, that's a lot of holding back that you're doing to humanity at large. So if you have that entire half of the world achieving its potential, the highest potential, like the sky's the limit, like Abir mentioned, right? And that's not to say we should hold men back. We should uplift our men just as much, support their growth, support their success, right? It's the team effort on both sides. And if we stop holding each other back, then it's, it's no telling how far we can all go.
And I'm gonna put this on record, by the way. Hopefully my actions will show it if I'm ever in a situation where I can put this in a situation. But honestly, if I was in a position where I can put a leader in a building, I would pick a woman over a man.
Why?
Because women can handle certain situations, I believe, better than the I don't want to say, I guess we're just knocking on all the whole majority. Majority of the women I feel like can handle a certain situation, and specifically leadership roles, I think, better than men. I'm thinking like right now, like being a principal of a school. I think a woman can do a lot better job with, just the way that they're, wired. You know what I'm saying?
Multitasking. And the emotional intelligence.
Yeah, I was going to say, women can juggle so much.
Yeah.
I know many single moms that can have their own home, that can take care of their children, that can go to work.
Side business.
Do it all. And I can't say the same for a man.
Listen, I think I do a good job. Honestly, like of being like a father and stuff.
Yourself.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think my wife, like, people might say like, you do this, you do that. Honestly, like, it's because of her. It's because of how she holds things down. Stuff that I can't do. Like, if it was, if our roles were switched and she was doing all this stuff, and I have to watch the kids 24/7. Like, I know it would not be easy. I'll do my best to do what I got to do. But it will not be easy, and she makes it look easy. So it's like. Honestly,
there's some reality to the way that we're wired is slightly different. And there's scientific research behind it that there's a show called Brain Games. It used to be on Netflix. I remember I watched an episode about gender roles. It was interesting because they gave them these different activities. And so the men and women had to compete. So when it came to things involving spatial awareness, for example, one activity was they had to load the trunk of a car within under a minute. And they gave them a whole a pile of things. You should look up the episode. It's really interesting to watch. A whole pile of things, and then they had the men do it, the women do it, and it was 4 to 6 people on each team. The men won hands down every single round.
Wow.
So subhanAllah, the way that they're wired is that when it comes to spatial awareness, I don't know, and they talked about the biology of it in the episode, is that men just have this way of they look at something and they can just kind of geometrically, and they loaded up the trunk and closed it. Well, the women kind of they weren't able to get everything in and close it. So that was one. There was another one, I think, another test they did about directions. I use my GPS everywhere. Everywhere. I'm I can't. Mentally, it's exhausting.
I used to go to Madonna 3 times a week. It took me a year to finally turn off my navigation.
Well, most of the men in my life that I know are why?
Yeah.
I've already driven there once or twice. I'm okay. And they like to rely on their, I guess it exercises something in the brain, the male mind that's there. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure it's not everyone. You have exceptions. But generally speaking, I think there were also studies about that men have certain, when it comes to navigation, the way their mind is wired is slightly different. So there are strengths and weaknesses that, may be influenced by the way we're wired. So it's, I'm not in denial of that. None of us are in denial of that. Mm-hmm. But there are certain things that, you know, you might have women who are stronger or more skilled at doing, and we shouldn't hold them back just because she's a female. I think that's kind of what we're trying to get at.
Biggest fan of Oz Media said, I disagree with women being the best leaders. I believe it's both, and one gender may succeed more at a different role. So,
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, you're talking about.
I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about myself. Like, personally, I would personally go that route because that's just me. But with that said, final words, Sada and Ailee, do you guys got any final words, final comments, any final things you want to mention?
I love what you're doing, and I hope all success goes to you. I'm speaking
Thank you.
so
Yeah,
low
yeah,
now.
you gotta talk
Sorry.
loud. You gotta talk louder than that.
But no, I appreciate what you're doing, and I hope. Well, I left Hamtramck, but obviously it's still near and dear in my heart. But inshallah, everything works out.
Thank you.
Inshallah. Maali, thank you so much for coming on the show. Another awesome conversation. Did you want to say anything, by the way, final word?
Thank you for bringing this, coming up with the
Conversation.
conversation.
Yeah, this was a nice one.
This is very important. Even our last topic was amazing too.
I'm trying to remember what it was. I remember we always toxicity.
Yeah, because we couldn't say that word. We always remember
Yeah.
that.
No, it was a great
Still not going to say it.
And you're so knowledgeable about it too, so
Thank
that
you.
makes it even
Yeah,
spicier in a way.
for sure. Is there one more? I think you do have one more sister. We gotta get her on, because we've had
Oh
some of
yeah,
that.
she's working in Hamtramck Public Schools.
Yeah.
On the administrative level. So if you guys had an education episode, you guys are educators, it would be
Yes.
perfect.
Yeah, inshallah. Again, thank you to the sponsors. We appreciate all of them. Hanley, Qahwa House, BC Adhesives, and Balkan House Restaurant. Also, make sure you subscribe, Oz Media 313's YouTube page. Watch it later. Or you can listen to it later, Apple, Spotify podcast under Oz Media. Follow us on Facebook, Motivate Me 313, Instagram, Motivate Me 313. Again, thank you guys for watching. Share it. You thought this conversation was great. Share it. I hope other people can enjoy it, inshallah. And looking forward to next week's topic. We'll have Najat on here, and the topic is going to be another one. So
Nasha?
yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah. So it's going to be another one that you
What's the
guys.
topic?
I would love to read the title of it and tell you. Maybe I could tell you, it's on my phone.
Okay.
I don't want to mess up and say the wrong title, but it's gonna be a great. I'm telling you, I already know and I could tell she's gonna dig deep into it as well.
I'm
So
excited.
Yeah.
get ready for that one. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to again share it.